It is Circa Tonight, powered by SharpStack. Matt Brown and Steven Andrus here, counting you down to Thursday night football, running through each and every game in the NFL, all the bets that are in our accounts, any thoughts we have on games where there aren't plays currently, leans, all of the above. Steven Andrus down there in Kentucky at the brand spanking new Circa Sportsbook there. It is a little I shouldn't say miniature version. It's not mini. It's a big version. It is just a little bit smaller version of what you get out here in Las Vegas at Circa Casino. So Steven in there at the studio, and man, it is, I can see the bright lights behind you, buddy. And it's time. We got baseball going on. We got football going on. Hockey is now started. Basketball's around the corner. You might as well head to Circa and take it all in.
Hey, after last week's show, I walked right outside the studio, grabbed a seat in one of these stadium chairs, man, one of these movie theater style chairs, had some pizza, had a drink, and then watched my Phillies commit an error to end their season. So it was great up until that moment. But I mean, it's fantastic here. It is the only place like this in this entire region of the country. So if you're anywhere near the Circa Sportsbook Kentucky, absolutely recommend coming out. Bring your buddies, have a squad bet here. It's a good time. And there's a hotel right attached to it, which is the best part as well.
If you have not tried out SharpStack, we'll be using it a ton throughout the course of this program. You should. TNF Live will get you 7 days for free, 25% off after that. You will definitely want to subscribe. It is a very valuable tool that they are only adding new bells and whistles to. I can't imagine where this thing's going to be a year from now, so get in early and take a look at everything. But Thursday night football gets going in what they are calling the Icy Hot Bowl. Steven, I know you've heard it a million times. I have as well. We have two 40-plus quarterbacks going at it tonight on Thursday night football. It is 5.5 pretty much everywhere out there in the industry in favor of the Steelers. 45 and there's 145.5 out there now. So 45.5 out there is the total. I got the worst of this because I didn't think it was going to get to 45. So I took 44.5 on the underside of things, Steven. I'm assuming people, when Trey Hendrickson got ruled out, that they decided, okay, there's going to be more offense in all of this. So they're going ahead and hitting that over button. But I don't know how Cincinnati scores. So I'm not too thrilled about the over in this. And I might have to add a little bit here if this thing keeps climbing.
I mean, in your defense, how many times are we going to do this every week about, hey, the Bengals have two really good receivers on the outside? Maybe how many times we're going to have this conversation? They can't block. They don't have an offensive line. The Steelers front looked healthy and refreshed last week against the Browns, who admittedly don't have a great offensive line, but neither do the Bengals. They're bottom 5 in pressure rate allowed. So I think TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith and company unless Joe Flacco is fully committed to getting rid of this ball as quick as Tom Brady in his 40s, then I'm with you here. I think they're going to have a hard time protecting for these deeper routes. And it's going to have to be long drives, I think, if they're going to be able to pull anything off offensively.
That's the other thing, right? Is like, even if they're almost dead last in explosive plays, they are dead last in pass block win rate, then you're going up against a defense that does get to the quarterback in the Steelers. And of course, they still have that Watt guy out there going and making people's lives miserable. And Steven, you and I have done content for a very long time, so stop me if you've heard this one before. I'm actually basically have already set you up with the answers to the question, but here goes the question. What team is running the fewest amount of plays per game in the NFL?
I'm guessing one of these two teams.
It's the Pittsburgh Steelers, quarterbacked by Aaron Rodgers, because Aaron Rodgers plays at an absolute snail's pace. And this has been his MO for the last 6-7 years in the league. He goes up, he takes his time, he drains that play clock. He likes to make checks. He likes to change things at the line of scrimmage. He likes to make sure that he's got the coverage that he wants and the blocking scheme and all of that. And they are dead last in the NFL in plays run per game. And so, again, everything still just points to an under for me here in this one. I mean, this Steelers team, as I said, I mean, they get to the quarterback. They're 10th overall in pressure rate, but if you look at pass rush win rate, they are 2nd overall in the NFL. And I don't expect that to change against this horrific line. And Joe Flacco can't run out of sight in 30 minutes. And so this dude's going to be just a sitting duck there in the pocket. So again, see, I understand, I guess, why people are hitting the over button. It's like, oh, well, Hendrickson's not going to be out there. The Steelers are going to score. Okay, are the Steelers going to score 45? Because that might be what you need to get this thing over. So I'm just not, I'm not going there. I'm still on my under. And even though I have the worst of the number.
I don't hate it. I'll share my favorite bet in terms of side or total right now. We'll go over to SharpStack to check it out here. And it is the first quarter spread. And you can find plus money at Circa on the Steelers to win the first quarter, essentially, minus a half a point on the first quarter spread. Biggest reason for this, if you look at EPA per play offensively for both of these teams on scripted plays, so the first 15 plays of the game, believe it or not, Art Smith and Aaron Rodgers are second in the league on scripted plays so far this year. The Cincinnati Bengals are 31st. And if we look at just what Flacco did in his first game a week ago, he finished the week last in EPA in the first quarter and second to last in success rate. So I think the Steelers get off to a good start here. Whether they can cover a big spread for the full game is where I kind of had pause. If we go to the full number here, we're looking at, 5.5, obviously. So I'm not big on the Steelers. I share the sentiments you've had in previous weeks, Matt, where I don't love this team to win by big margins. They did it last week against the Browns. I'm not sure I want to lean into that every week, though, but I do like this angle of Art Smith being able to continue his creativity and his game planning for the first quarter scripted plays.
As for a prop side of things, listen, it's moved. And so this is what can happen in 24 hours as we approach these games. But I have Aaron Rodgers over on his pass yards. It was at 216.5. It is all the way out to, 225.5 to whatever. It's gone up a decent amount now on Aaron Rodgers and his passing yards. So I wouldn't play the 219 at the 135. I would probably be looking more at the maybe 223 at 115.
I mean, if you're lucky enough to be in a Hard Rock state, there's a 219 at minus 115 juice, but those are few and far between. I mean, 222.5 at Rivers at minus 118. That's about the best you're going to get here. I hear it.
If you're in a Fanatics district as well, there's a 220 with the 115 on the over, so you can get that. But Stephen, the thought here obviously is also this is just a horrific pass defense for the Cincinnati Bengals, and no real run game to speak of here for the Steelers. It's kind of like run game by committee. They are going to go with two different guys, and Warren and Gainwell, I don't know exactly who's going to do what, but I do know that Aaron Rodgers should be able to do whatever he wants through the air. Yes, Calvin Austin is out in this game, but between what we're going to get from DK Metcalf, what we're going to get from the tight end position, the guys out of the backfield as well, which Aaron Rodgers loves to dump it off to these receivers to these running backs out of the backfield and all that. I mean, this Cincinnati team hadn't been able to stop anyone through the air all season long, and even at the 220-ish number, 219-ish number, I mean, hell, 221, 222, I think it's still an okay over for me. I think Rodgers and them understand the path of least resistance through the air against this team, and so I think they attack that.
Don't hate it. I'm going to go deep cuts here in this Aaron Rodgers passing game because, as you mentioned, their wide receiver 2, Calvin Austin, is out of this game. And you and I both know that Art Smith, the offensive coordinator, is not afraid to play that helps nobody game in fantasy football, where he will just find any given target in his offense any given week. So I want to lean into that week-to-week variance a little bit. And I think the fact that this player has gotten the snap counts and the targets that he has over the past couple of weeks has kind of gone under the radar a little bit. I think we all remember the Steelers trading for Jonnu Smith and Art Smith being reunited with Jonnu Smith after his time in Atlanta. Well, it's actually been Darnell Washington who has been the number one tight end in this offense the past 2 weeks at 6'7", 260 something pounds. That might be generous. I mean, do you think he's in the 260s, Matt? I think this guy's still probably in the 275, 280 range from his days back at Georgia. This guy's a tank, but he's plus 330-ish for an anytime touchdown. I like that. I think if you're looking for some promos out there, if there's a no sweat bet, I want to lean into possible first touchdown on him, 2+ touchdowns. He played 90% of snaps last game for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And again, no Calvin Austin in this game. How confident are you that Scotty Miller or Ben Skoranek is going to out-snap or out-touch Darnell Washington? Wouldn't surprise me in the least if the Steelers have maybe more 3 tight end sets in this game than they do 2 wide receiver sets in this game. It's just they're not afraid to mix and match the formations in a way that most teams don't do it this year. So what do you think? What's your reaction to Darnell Washington touchdown props?
I mean, I don't have really a problem with it at all. How about the fact that we are looking at a Cincinnati team that gives up 66.2 yards per game on the season to the tight end position, which is 4th most in the NFL. So 27th DVOA versus the position. So I think taking any sort of tight end position against this Cincinnati team seems like the right play.
And they've also allowed the 2nd most touchdowns in the league to the tight end position this year, have the Cincinnati Bengals. So, just taking my shot on somebody other than DK Metcalf or Jaylen Warren to score in this game for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's kind of where I'm at. Like I said, though, I don't have a strong opinion on the spread here. Like, we're talking about a lot of Pittsburgh offensive props in this game because the Bengals defense stinks. You talked about an under. Certainly understand that as well. It still doesn't lead me to a strong opinion on the Steelers here to cover this spread. That's just kind of where I'm at on this game. I like other stuff in this one.
Yeah, I hate the Steelers as a team. It would be Steelers or pass for me. I have no interest in backing Cincinnati really in any way, shape, or form. And I mean, Joe Flacco's been there for 10 days. Yeah. You know, I mean, like it's if they get behind, like how confident are you in him to run a hurry up offense, to run a 4-minute offense, all these things like that you get by getting rapport with guys and all of that. And I mean, he's been there for 10 days. So it would certainly be Pittsburgh or pass for me, but not going to go there. I think there's going to be some people, Steven, I think there's going to be some people who play Pittsburgh in Survivor tonight. Mm-hmm. And I
agree.
I can't get there for sure. I mean, Thursday night games are wonky as it is anyway. It's a road game. It's, you're down one of your wide receivers. I mean, as much as I think Pittsburgh wins this game, I would be avoiding this one for sure come Survivor time.
I agree. And then if Pittsburgh loses, you have more information about how many, regardless, win or lose, you're going to have more information about how many, what percentage of your pool used Pittsburgh in this one as well. So, that's kind of where I'm at with it. This is a show me game for the Bengals. If this is actually going to work with Flacco, let's see if we get a little bit more improvement in this game, and then they get 10 days to prepare for the next game, and maybe that's the buy low point for me on the Bengals.
If you believe that this is one-way Pittsburgh traffic in this one too, then I would be looking at like unders on Chase Brown, because we've kind of seen his like when they get a negative game script, they really do just kind of quit running the ball. And so I think that he's, again, that's if your feeling is that this is one-way traffic for the Steelers, then I think you can tell that story too by going unders on Chase Brown. But Steven, we are going to be waking up early yet again on Sunday as we head over to London. It is the Rams and the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is a flat 3 at most places out there right now. Juice one way or the other. 44.5 is our total. Does not look like Puka Nacua, Rob Havenstein going to play for the Rams. We get the news coming out from Jacksonville that they are going to make a concerted effort to get Travis Hunter more involved in the offense, which, probably a good decision to do that. Neutral field game. What do you think about this one?
I think I gambled on Puka not playing in this game, and I took the Jags to cover the 3. So that's kind of where I'm at. I don't think he's going to play. He hasn't practiced yet this week. Their right tackle, Rob Havenstein, hasn't practiced either. You can still find a flat 3 at Circa on the Jags. It hasn't moved there yet. There's a couple spots where it's starting to get heavier juice on the Jags. I just think I don't really want to. The other thing is potential rain on this field over at Wembley. Surfaces might be a little bit weird in these international games, as we've seen in recent years. I don't love the Jags, right? Like, honestly, this is a team that I typically would be selling as a favorite or to cover a big spread against a bad team. But, if I'm getting 3 in an international game against a team that's missing their right tackle. And it's not just that Puka's their number one wide receiver, Matt. It's that his target share is just astronomical, like offensive player of the year levels of volume here for Puka Nacua. So now you're trying to replace that with Devontae Adams, who's getting older, Jordan Whittington, Tutu Atwell, maybe some of these young tight ends like Terrence Ferguson from Oregon. What is that going to look like? We haven't seen it yet so far. So just fading a team in an international game, having to win by margin without one of the most significant weapons in the entire league.
Yeah, so there was a 3.5 available early in the week. I did the same thing. I just assumed Puka Nacua wasn't going to play. The fact that he didn't get back in the game last week and all of that, and then Havenstein leaving, I didn't think Tutu Atwell was going to be back either. It does look like he's at least going to be back, so it'll probably be him and Whittington that tries to pick up the slack for Nacua being out, but I don't think that's going to be enough. And, I think the 3 is fine. If this gets to 2.5, it'd be a pass for me, but the 3 is fine. Obviously, if this gets back to 3.5 at any point, I think that is a great play on Jacksonville. Same deal for me. I don't love it, but I don't love the team. But this just seems like a really good situation where the guy that this team just relies on so incredibly heavily is very, very unlikely to be out there. The only other thing I will say, if we believe that they are going to do this with Travis Hunter, it is, you can find a 39.5 out there in the market on Travis Hunter receiving yards. I mean, they literally said that they are going to draw up more plays for him on the offensive side of the ball to try to get the ball into his hands. They said specifically too, Steven, try to get the ball downfield to him a little bit more. And so, you could kind of get there even without volume if they're telling the truth. Now, that's always the thing here, right? If they're telling the truth. But if they're telling the truth, then we might only need 3 catches from Travis Hunter to get us to where we need to be.
It's a fair point. I mean, his route usage last week was that of a full-time starting wide receiver. So we're starting to get close to that. Do you like the yards or the receptions more is my question, right? Because it's still higher usage, but it seems like it's still a lot of low ADOT stuff. I don't know if that's Hunter necessarily being a rookie or just concerned with Trevor Lawrence wanting to get rid of the ball fast. I don't know, but that's the only question I would have is maybe the receptions is a little bit better look if he's not going to have high yardage or high ADOT.
Well, the thing is I'm going with the fact that I think that they're going to make a concerted effort to get him the ball down the field. That's at least what they said, but
a lot of juice here on the receptions too. Now that I look at it, I mean, we're looking at minus 146 juice here on over 3.5. So I might be back with you on the yards at that kind of juice.
So for example, Liam Cohen said they're making it a priority to design and call more plays where Hunter is the number one option to take advantage of his speed and athleticism.
Like that. Okay.
He ranks 54th in the NFL in deep targets, and out of 113 receivers with at least 20 targets, he is 99th out of 113 in average depth of target. And apparently they are they're not happy with that, and so are going to.
Well, I mean, they gave up a treasure trove of draft capital, and the usage he's seen on offense so far does not jive with what they gave up for him. So it makes sense that they're trying to find more and more ways to use him, right?
Yeah. I mean, so for me, I'll believe Liam Cohen. I think that he's a pretty sharp dude too. So I think he should be able to draw up some stuff to get in the ball. So I like an over on the 39.5 on Travis Hunter as well. So, again, we sometimes we have to believe these coaches. Sometimes we'll find out. I mean, who knows? Liam Cohen hadn't been a head coach that long. We might find out that whatever he says is not believable, but maybe we find out that he does tell us the truth. So we'll go with that, and hopefully we can get some insight from him as we move forward with this Jacksonville team that is, at least to me, a little difficult to figure out, at least a tiny bit.
If Trevor Lawrence levels up just a little bit, man, that would go such a long way because I think the roster is pretty good. I think they're very well rounded. Now they missed their center last week, and that caused some pressure. Robert Hainsey was a top 5 center last year, who was actually with Liam Cohen in Tampa Bay. So when fully assembled, if Trevor Lawrence could just be a little bit better, I mean, I think my division futures from before the season with the Jags are still live against the Colts.
So let's take a look here at New England on the road at Tennessee. This is now out to 7 in favor of the Patriots on the road. 42.5 to 43 is our total here in this one. Of course, we know Tennessee fires head coach. Everyone's going to talk about the fact that these teams rally around these, interim coaches and yada, 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 and blah, blah, blah. What say you?
I want to share some numbers with you because it shocked me, honestly. And then I'm going to ask you whether it's a real trend or a fake trend. So good friend of mine, I do a show with him over at Pool Genius, Jason Lisk, dug in, did the research on teams in their first games with an interim coach out of curiosity. And he looked since 2010. And the interim coach in his first game is 20-13 against the spread and 17-16 straight up. And if a coach is getting fired, then typically that means most of those cases, the team is an underdog in those games. So 17-16 straight up is pretty strong. Week 9 and earlier when this has happened. So basically the first half of the season when a coach has gotten fired typically means coach is that bad, right? Brian Callahan was a dumpster fire. So since 2010, when a coach has been fired week 9 and earlier, the first game with an interim coach, those teams are 7-4 against the spread and straight up. Only 3 of those 11 instances, the team was the favorite. So are you buying this a little bit that the market has trouble pricing in the potential bump, at least for the first week, and effort that a team might give when the bozo head coach is out the door?
No. And I'll tell you why. Because this is a very unique circumstance, which is, 1, you have a rookie quarterback who's making his 7th start in the NFL. 2, you have a team that doesn't have any talent in the first place. And if you wanted to consider that Calvin Ridley was talented, it doesn't matter because he's not going to play in this game. And 3, you have a legitimately good team in New England coming to town. We have no idea the quality of opponent in any of these other matchups that we're talking about in prior history. And 3, I could reverse this back on you and say, what about the Patriots rallying behind Vrabel, who used to coach in Tennessee? And so they're going to rah their guy to show the Tennessee.
Oh, I see your dead Pat bounce and raise you with a revenge game.
Yeah. So I mean, there's all of this stuff, and it's fun to talk about, and it's whatever and all of that. But I mean, it's at the end of the day, it is one of the worst teams we've ever seen in the last half decade.
Yeah.
Going up against a team that is trending not just in the right direction, but New England might be legitimately good. They might be. I mean, Drake May, there's absolutely no question about Drake May at this point as to whether he is good or not. I mean, there is a people are just way smarter than me. And so they go in and legitimate, they have, they go in. So there's a chart where a guy goes in and takes all of the EPA data and then takes all the PFF data and whatever. He blends all the stuff together and comes out with a metric where it's adjusted for pass protection, receiver drops, dropped interceptions, fumble recoveries, interception returns, giving credit for expected yards, and accounting for defenses faced.
When he had Cinnamon Toast Crunch for breakfast and a hoagie for lunch and, a smoothie for dinner.
So basically this is taking all the EPA stuff, all the PFF stuff, and smashing it together and coming out with the metrics for the quarterbacks. Drake May is 5th in the NFL. Yeah. Drake May is number 5 overall in the NFL, ahead of Baker Mayfield, ahead of Jared Goff, ahead of Josh Allen, ahead of Justin Herbert, all of this. He is legitimately good. I think that he's if anyone didn't figure this out already, before this got to 7, it was 6.5, and I laid the 6.5. Now that it's at 7, I think it's a fine teaser leg. If you don't even have to ask the book for the whole 6 points, just take 4.5, get it under the field goal, and you're going to get a better price. You can get a plus money, kind of we call these, they call them alt line parlays, but it's, whatever. It's an adjusted teaser essentially. And so you actually get better numbers on all this, but I think the Patriots go in here and just absolutely stomp this team.
Yeah, listen, I agree. The Patriots are probably going to win the game. That's why I teased the Patriots as well. I have a teaser leg with the Patriots in my account. The reason I didn't lay the full number is not totally because of this trend with interim head coach. It's a couple of things. It's third road game in a row for New England. It is potentially some weather in Nashville on Sunday. It looks like maybe some wind, not necessarily rain. It looks like maybe some showers, but a little bit of wind. It is also the fact that I think Drake May is carrying this team, and the schedule that he's played over the past few weeks to get this hype train going for him up to 4th on the odds board and MVP odds was against Carolina, Buffalo's bad defense. I think we both would agree at this point it's a bad defense, and the Saints defense as well. Before that, Pittsburgh Steelers, they probably should have won that game. I'll give him credit for that. But the other 2 games were against Las Vegas and Miami. So, I mean, they, like the 49ers coming into the season, were a big win total over bet for me because the schedule is a cakewalk if he's any good. And he is pretty good. The rest of the roster still have some questions about this pass defense. They can't run the ball, so they're completely reliant on Drake May. If they run into any type of adverse weather conditions, which he hasn't had to deal with at this point, that could slow up the passing game a little bit. They have 0 running game. So I pumped the brakes a little bit to think that this is for a quarterback as good as Drake May, that typically means you're going to be a contender in the conference, right? I'm pumping the brakes there a little bit because I don't think the rest of the roster is caught up yet. It has enough talent necessarily. So do I think they can maybe win this division? Yes, because Buffalo's got holes. But I still want to see him do it against some better teams. And it's going to be a while till we see that. They play Tennessee this week, Cleveland next week. Maybe the 2 games after that against Atlanta and Tampa Bay will give us a better picture of what this team actually is. So I stopped short of laying the points on the spread, but I think it's a fine teaser leg. And let's see if we get Jeff Saturday again this week, Matt. I mean, if Jeff Saturday can win in his first game as an interim head coach, then maybe Mike McCoy can too. I don't know.
Carolina Panthers on the road at the New York Football Jets, our last winless team in the NFL. This is currently 1.5 in favor of Carolina, 41.5 to 42.5 out there in the market as far as the total goes. I mean, what is there really to say more at this point? I mean, it is, I mean, with this Jets team, it's just like, I mean, Fields comes out this week and says he's probably being too conservative. And like, how do you get a spark in this offense? And now Garrett Wilson is hurt. And so how is there any way to feel confident that even if he wants to be more aggressive, that it's going to do anything for the team because your best receiver is not I don't know, man. Like Carolina on the road sounds so gross, laying points, but geez, that is certainly the only direction I would go in. I'm never taking the Jets in this game.
All right. So you don't care about the dead cat bounce trend with the interim head coach. I don't care that Bryce Young is 1-15 on the road. I don't care because the Jets are a dumpster fire at this point. Their offense has no wide receivers for this game. If you consider Garrett Wilson the number 1, Josh Reynolds the number 2. Josh Reynolds isn't the number 3 on most teams. So they have no wide receivers. The Panthers have looked decent. If we just draw a line through the first 2 weeks of the season and say, okay, maybe it took them a little bit to get going. Since week 3, the Panthers offense is 13th in EPA, 5th in success rate. The defense is number 4 in success rate allowed. And most importantly for this matchup against a Jets offense that basically can run the ball only, the Panthers are number 1 in stopping the run by success rate defense. So how exactly do the Jets win this game? I'm not sure. This was the other side of the Patriots teaser leg for me early in the week before the favorite flipped in this one. I would still bet the Panthers to win this game, but I actually think under 42 that's the bet I made straight up. Since I already had the teaser leg, I'll leave it to you whether you give your opinion, whether you like the Panthers just to win or you like the under 42.5 better. But this is actually a battle of 2 top 3 teams that have top 3 success rate defenses. So even though the Panthers offense looks a little better, the Jets defense has been solid. They just give up big plays and don't get any takeaways. So I think this is probably an under game, and I think the Panthers are pretty clearly improved and should win this game.
Yeah, so I just kind of am going to like mess around with this game more than anything else, which it would be like playing an alt line on Carolina, basically like they win by 3.5. That means that the Jets are trailing. They have no receivers. And so Mason Taylor, their tight end, has earned a whole bunch more targets in the last few weeks. And by the way, Justin Fields can't throw. So what are easier passes to throw? The passes to the tight ends. And then it just happens to be that the Panthers allow over 6 receptions per game and the most yards per game to tight ends in the NFL. And so I'm kind of just going to go with this whole like Mason Taylor gets looks because the Jets are trailing and the Panthers win by at least a little bit of margin, kind of same game parlay deal that pays like a decent little plus money price is kind of how I'm going to go about it. I don't have like a super strong opinion on, on anything outside of that. I'm just going to lean into the fact that I think the Jets are bad. I know they're going to be without wide receivers. The Panthers happen to give up a little bit of stuff to tight ends. And so Panthers win, Jets are trailing, throw to Mason Taylor, whatever. That's how I'm going to go about it.
If Justin Fields puts up another half of 1 yard per play, is it Tyrod Taylor in the second half?
I mean,
as boisterous as Aaron Glenn was at the podium,
it just, I don't know what I don't know
how
how
a chance.
I'm so disconnected from that fan base that I don't know whether they even care or not that this team is winless.
Right.
So,
no, I know a couple, and they're starting to feel like keep the losses coming so we can get a real quarterback.
Right.
So I don't know, but also Aaron Glenn seems to be a complete dumpster fire. I mean, the defense isn't getting any takeaways. The offense can't move the ball. It's not good. So I wonder, I mean, clearly Justin Fields is not your quarterback of the future. So who cares if you bench him, right?
Yeah.
But Tyrod Taylor is also like 37 years old and doesn't have his fastball anymore. So if it gets bad, that's what made me go with the under, because I wondered, like, well, what if Tyrod Taylor comes out and is actually a competent quarterback in this game? Could I get screwed out of my full game Panthers bet here? So that was the only thing I could really come up with to make me have at least a little bit of concern with the Panthers, but you can't really handicap that though.
Philadelphia Eagles on the road at the Minnesota Vikings. This is anywhere from 1.5 to 2.5. 43.5 to 44 is our total. It is increasingly likely that this is going to be Carson Wentz yet again. So basically, if you listen to Kevin O'Connell, he was very non-committal on getting JJ McCarthy back in there. They talked to JJ McCarthy and he said, oh, actually my second opinion, from the doctor said it was more of a 4 to 6 week injury, which by the way, this is just the 4th week of his high ankle sprain. So this would be on the very early end of getting him in there. And so it seems to me, Stephen, that this is going to be a banged up Carson Wentz going up against this Eagles team that, listen, I know has been very unimpressive and certainly has not inspired confidence whatsoever. But we're talking under a field goal against a compromised Carson Wentz. I'm laying the 1.5, dude. I mean, like, prove me wrong, Carson Wentz. Go out there with a banged up throwing shoulder and light up this Philadelphia defense if you can. But I'm going to have to see it with my own eyes. I know Philadelphia's offense has done, absolutely nothing, but dude, they might not have to do much at all to win this one. So I laid the 1.5. I'll have to see it with my own eyes.
I'm waiting for the final injury reports because there's too much there for me to make a decision now. You did get a big check mark in your favor today with Quinyon Mitchell getting a full participation in practice today, which means he should play. And they need that badly because they're already weak at one cornerback position. You put 2 out there with a head coach like KOC, who is using Justin Jefferson like the queen on a chessboard, moving them all over the formation, then he can exploit an Eagles secondary that would be down to basically cornerback spots from their Super Bowl team a year ago that were plus positions. So Jalen Carter is the other question. LP today, limited. We'll see. But for the Vikings, to your point, it's not just Carson Wentz banged up. The offensive line is really banged up as well. I don't know how many of those starters are going to be back for this game, even though they're coming off a bye week. If those offensive linemen are out for Minnesota, I will likely be with you with an Eagles ticket in my account.
The thing is, too, just for me is, and I mean, look, I have no idea what's going to happen in this, and I don't know the severity of this injury that Carson Wentz is dealing with, but if he becomes compromised and they decide that this is too early for JJ McCarthy to come back, Steven, it's going to be Max Brosmer. And if you don't know who Max Brosmer is, it's because he's an undrafted free agent their third string quarterback, and so like this could get bad and ugly quickly if Carson Wentz takes one weird fall on that injured shoulder and he can't throw the ball. We're going to be talking about Max Brosmer in the game for this Minnesota team. So it just sounds to me a lot like they're worried about rushing JJ McCarthy back from this ankle thing. And
completely
so
agree.
It wouldn't surprise me if he's inactive.
Yeah, completely agree. I think it's very clear that this kid who was shaky at best to start before he got hurt, how are you going to get a true evaluation of what he is and what he can be if he's out there gimpy? You need to make sure that he's fully healthy so you can actually give a proper evaluation as to whether he's going to be your starting quarterback next year as well. So I think that's what you're seeing with this, and they're trying to skate by as long as they can with a very good roster other than the quarterback position.
Miami is on the road at Cleveland, and no, I'm not misspeaking when I say this. Cleveland is a 2.5 point favorite over Miami, and this is juiced like it's heading to 3. It is minus 115 at almost every book out there. 37.5 is our total. You can find as low as a 36.5 out there. Now, Steven and I texted you. You were already on it. I didn't get the best of the number, but I did at least get 39.5 in the account. This is a huge weather game that we are looking at right now. Apparently massive like gale force wind gusts that could be happening. And now you have a rookie quarterback in Dylan Gabriel and whatever Tua does, a couple times a game where he just throws the ball up for grabs and, whoever can come down with it and all that. So you tell me, if this gets to 3, how can we not play Miami? I mean, like in a game that like literally might end up being a rock fight because of the weather. I mean, if you get a full field goal, don't you just take it no matter who the opponent is?
Well, people already did this week. Now limits were lower, so it doesn't mean as much as if people do it later this week, but this did hit 3 at a lot of spots, and then there was buyback, and now we're at 2.5 today. So there was rejection of that 3 once the limits went up initially today. So to Miami's offensive credit, they moved the ball well against the Chargers in defeat. However, this defense is still bottom 3 in the league and among the worst of the past 5 years. This offense, who knows what it looks like if you're in a wind and weather game in Cleveland against the defense that in this regime has been lights out in home games, not to mention weather games as well. I mean, we're talking about a defense that won games against the 49ers fully assembled offense in a wind and weather game when they had their third string quarterback out there for that home Cleveland game. So, and you have all the nonsense going on in the Dolphins locker room at the podium, Tua calling out players, coach saying he shouldn't have done that. It wasn't the right forum. Tua coming back and saying, I apologize, I shouldn't have done that. So like, we are on a thin thread at this point, man. Like this is dangling by a thread in terms of like the chemistry and what's going on in this locker room with every loss that mounts for this team. So 3 and this low of a total, I think you'd have to click it by just principle, Matt. But the under was the play for me. I mean, just for context on the under, 37.5 is like a preseason game in normal conditions. So like that's what we're looking at here with this weather game. Dylan Gabriel, first 2 weeks against very tough defenses. was the nut low. He's worst in the league in terms of advanced metrics. So, and then you have Tua, who's not great, playing a really good defense. And then you throw weather into the mix here. So I don't know with this weather and wind if Gabriel can even take advantage of a bad defense. I still like the under here. I mean, I'd be fine with 37.5 still. I'd bet it. It's not the best, but like, I don't know how these teams move the ball.
So the other thing that I was looking at here is I don't know the efficiency of Judkins, but like
the volume.
Can't you imagine the volume? His carry number is set at 20.5, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the books have skyrocketed his right. I mean, like DK is 94.5 for Judkins. Like this guy's friggin' prime Le'Veon Bell or something or whatever, like there is a world that exists where he does run this thing 24, 25 times, but he only does it for 3 yards a carry. I mean, like
4 yards a carry
where that happens.
4 yards a carry at 21 carries is 84. What'd you say the rushing prop was at?
94.5 at DraftKings.
Good Lord. It has to be alts then to match that based on this 20.5 number. I mean, if it's a weather game and everybody knows you can't throw the ball,
right,
then it's stacked boxes. Yeah.
And then the other thing here, and I mean, this is just, again, reading between the lines and all of that. And this is for sure. But I mean, they still have Jerome Ford and Dylan Sampson who, let's say, Steven, that it just like they decide this game. Let's say this weather is as nasty as they say it could possibly be.
Yeah.
Like they might just go in and decide, okay, Judkins is going to get 18 to 20 carries and Ford is going to get another 10 to 12. And then Sampson's going to get 5 or 6 or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, and we're just going to play old school freaking, service academy, run the ball every single down type deal. I mean, I don't know. 94.5 just seems, even with volume, just seems absurdly high to me.
It's way too high. It's way too high. I mean, you have to bust one, you would think. And to your point, the other running backs in this offense, now they haven't posted any yet, but I have to check closer to kickoff. But I like that angle too. Maybe the Dylan Sampson angle here of a lower number. Because when you get to that situation, you can't give your number one running back 40 carries.
Right.
But you're probably going to have 40 carries in that game. So I'm with you on that. I think it's a good angle, especially on the number 2.
Yeah. Just like, again, something to think about as you're preparing for these games, guys. Like we just like to talk through every single one of the angles if we can, if at all possible. Las Vegas is on the road at the Chiefs. This is 11.5, 12. It is 45.5 on the total. Does not look like Brock Bowers again this week. Jacoby Myers doesn't look like Jacoby Myers again this week. So how in the hell do the Raiders do anything? Steven, this is just one of those, like, the line is right. If you're not playing in Circa Survivor, then you just, this is your free square for the week in normal Survivor pools. Kansas City's too valuable to play in Circa, so you just got to hang out in Circa. You can't use them this week. But again, it's probably lined correctly.
Now, in non-Circa Survivor pools where you don't have the holiday schedule to deal with and you're just picking a team every week, this is actually the first time this season where I've thought about eating the chalk, even though
for sure
40%, because I don't really like a ton of the other options. I can shoot a lot of holes in the other options.
No. If you're not in Circa, this is your slam dunk free square, move on and whatever. Yeah. Because you don't have to be as cute now because likely the pool that you're in has been demolished. Like with I mean, it's probably like a third to a quarter of the size of what it was, when we were.
I'm in one pool with 7% left.
Yeah. So, I mean, you don't have to be as cute. And so let other people be cute this week in a week that's kind of tough when it comes to Survivor. One of the teams is going to lose, like that a bunch of people play this week. And you're not really going to have to worry about that with Kansas City, in my personal opinion. Rashee Rice back for this game. Steven, no one cares again. But I was on the air last night. I was sitting here, I was like, man, I can't wait till these Rashee Rice props come up. I want to see what they price him at. I got a feeling they're going to price him in the mid 50s because, yada, yada, yada. They open this thing, Stephen, at 48.5.
Oh, man.
On Rashee Rice. And so I got in over 48.5. It is all the way up to like 56.5 now on this. But like the books did not price Patrick Mahomes' number one option as if he was a number one receiver in the NFL. And the thing is this is not Rashee Rice coming off of
an injury,
an injury while we're getting him here in week 6. Yeah, he was injured last season, but he was ready to go week 1 this year. He just was suspended. He is coming off of a suspension. If you listen to Andy Reid, who said he says he's in great, he's working hard. He's in great shape, the whole 9 yards, like that you're getting out of all of this. Like they did not price him as number one wide receiver. They certainly didn't price him as Patrick Mahomes' number one wide receiver. I think even in the low 50s, it's probably still an over for me.
Yeah, I'm seeing 56.5 right now, juice to the over. So you want to ladder it? I mean, ladder might not be bad either. The way I typically like the ladder, if I see something like this, is a half unit on the regular prop to win a half unit, and then take that potential half unit that I would win and split it into 5 other props along the way. So
because I think you're of like my mindset here, which is like, I mean, he's had nothing to do other than just keep himself in great shape. I mean, like, I don't think he's going to be not in football shape because he's known exactly when he can come back the entire time that he has been out. So it's like, it would shock me if he doesn't get a fairly full complement of snaps in this game.
He was an alpha wide receiver 1 when he was healthy in this offense. I mean, he was a revelation for this offense in the post Tyreek era when they needed him most. So Kelsey's getting older. I think this means less 2 tight end sets as well with Noah Gray. I think they go more 3 wide receivers. The offense without him was cooking, man. This is back to looking like, peak level Chiefs, scoring on more drives than they have in 8 point the last 3 years. Top 5 in EPA and success rate. The minute they beat the Lions, I ran to the book, and full transparency, I put 9 units on the Chiefs to win the AFC. Because with the Ravens down, with the Bills defense down, I'm pretty confident that they're at least getting back to the AFC Championship game, and then I can make decisions there, barring health or Mahomes going down, obviously. So got in there at like plus 440 or so. It's back down to like plus 350. They're still not the favorite to win the AFC, I suspect, because the books have a lot of liability on Buffalo and they don't want to move them that much. You tell me at this point who you're confident in saying is going to beat the Chiefs in the AFC, assuming health.
Yeah, I mean, right now, and I mean, this isn't even a joke. I mean, this is like honest. I mean, like we'll see the evolution of what this Colts team becomes. Do they make
on my short list too?
Like, do they make a move at the deadline because they feel opportunistic, that they caught lightning in a bottle and they caught these other teams that are kind of down and all of that? Like, if I were the Colts, I would be making moves for sure because the window is open. You probably didn't think the window was open. You probably thought the window was cracked. You didn't think the window was open, and the window is definitely open for sure. So I don't know, maybe the Colts, maybe the Chargers, if they can fully get it together. They still have an awesome quarterback and all that, but your point is well taken, which is the Chiefs do look like the Chiefs again. And so while I don't think they're as dominant as in years past and certainly can be beaten, it's hard to look at them.
There's just more holes in the rivals, right? There's more holes in the rivals than there have been in past years.
Yeah.
In my mind.
All right. So, and again, if you're in a traditional survivor pool, don't get cute this week. This is just play them. New Orleans is on the road at Chicago. This is 4.5, 5 in favor of Chicago. 46.5 is our total here in this one. And since we're talking about survivor, Steven, I don't have the Patriots available. I played them earlier this season. I'm not going to play the Chiefs again because I'm trying to win this thing. So it's dicey for me. It's down to Denver and it's down to Chicago. And I think I'm going to split entries and play one on Chicago, one on Denver. I've got a joint entry with the guy I did the show with, so we'll decide what we want to do like collectively, but I have 2 solo entries left. I think I'm going to split them between Chicago and Denver and hate my life, basically, as I watch this games. But coming out of the bye, I will say this. Ben Johnson's first bye as a head coach, I thought this Chicago team did function better than they had previously before the bye.
In what ways?
I thought that there was much better play calling. I thought that the transition to moving away from DJ Moore, which he's going to be hurt anyway, so it doesn't really matter, of him being the number one and moving more towards it being Rome Odunze for sure, and then getting Luther Burden more involved as well, which he's going to have to be more involved this week anyway, because it doesn't look like Moore is going to play, or even if he does, he's going to be compromised with all of that. So I thought that maybe being a little less conservative. I'm not going to say that he didn't necessarily trust Caleb Williams, but it certainly seemed like he was keeping the reins on him and loosened the reins at least a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. The big takeaway I had from that game was that they got the run game going. I thought that's what showed the most from Ben Johnson's work in the bye week. They ran the ball much better than they have at any point in the season. And that goes a long way when you're trying to maybe mask a quarterback who's not there yet, right? Mm-hmm. I'm going to try and talk you out of using a survivor entry on the Bears, because I think the Saints are live to win this game. And a couple of reasons why. Number one, kind of in recent weeks when we've talked about the Jaguars benefiting from turnover variance, I think the Bears are that team now. The Bears defense, if you strip turnovers from every team in the NFL, the Bears defense is bottom 2 in the league in success rate and EPA. Teams are moving the ball at will on this defense, and some of the turnovers they've gotten weren't even forced. They were unforced errors. Like, look at last week. It was just a bad exchange from quarterback to running back. So they've benefited greatly from that, winning a couple of games by 1 point at the end with long field goals and a blocked field goal as well. I think the Bears are fake AF, man. I think that this is a below average team. I rank them in the high 20s, like 20 to 22, somewhere in there this week. I want no part of them. I like the Saints to cover this spread. I think they're live to win this game, and I think they're going to be able to move the ball with the weapons that they have against this defense.
So then let's circle back to that. What weapons do the Saints have, and in what fashion do you think that they're going to be able to move the ball that they have not been able to do all season long against anybody?
They moved the ball okay. Like, Spencer Rattler's got better advanced metrics
everything
so far than Caleb Williams. This is what everyone
says about the Saints, and like, this is the deal. Everyone's like, they're better than we thought. Like, they're okay.
They are.
They're like, whatever. But like, that's not a reason to back a team that they're better than you thought. Like, that's
okay, well, if you look under the hood,
this
Spencer
is literally
Rattler's...
what everybody says about the Saints. They're like, well, they're not as bad as we thought they were going to be. Where are they in your power ratings? They're probably 30th. If they're 29th
exactly
on right, the highest. Like, I mean, they're not 32nd anymore. It's the Titans, and maybe they're not 31st because it's the Jets, but they're probably 30th or 29th. So it's like, better than what we thought means they're the third worst team in the NFL. I mean, like, what are we doing here? Why are we trying to talk ourselves into making the Saints something that they're not?
I have the Bears 22 this week, and you might call me crazy here. I have the Saints 26. Here are the teams I have below the Saints: the Dolphins, the Browns, the Raiders, the Bengals, the Jets, and the Titans.
You would not bet the Saints on a neutral field straight up against the Dolphins or against the Raiders or whatever. Like,
I would.
That's not a bet you're making.
Dolphins have an all-time bad defense. I think it might be a high-scoring game. Might just bet the over in that game. But yeah, I think the Saints are bad, but I think they're competitive. Well, I mean, okay. So the real point there, though, is you can take any of those teams, you can put in a hat and pull them out. Yeah, they all suck. They all
like
suck.
They're all. Yeah, I mean, like there's the Jets Titans level of suck, which is like they're obviously the bottom two, and then it's like then that next tier of suck, which is like, again, put them in a hat, pull them out. If you told me they were 27th, if you told me they were 29th, if you don't, they're all, I mean, they're all the same.
Like, the Bears are the fakest 3-2 team in the league, man. Like, they benefited from playing bad teams, and they still needed variance to go their way to win those games. So listen, I've stated my case for why I'm not using them in Survivor, even though they're a 5.5 point favorite. I think there might actually be a little wind in the forecast here for this one. If it's in Cleveland, it's probably in Chicago as well. Let me just double check real quick Google search. On Sunday, we're looking at about 18-mile-an-hour winds potentially at kickoff, so maybe some gusts higher than that. That's going to make it tougher to throw the ball and cover a big spread like this. So, I mean, I think there's enough here for the Saints to at least stay competitive. Maybe they look like crap again when they get outside the Superdome, but that's a risk I'm willing to take because I think the Bears are overrated.
There's it's fairly interesting, I guess, to me that like a lot of some of the analysis, and this is just an aside, like this is just past this, is like some of the analysis that we do. And I think that maybe we should probably take a look back in the off season for us sometimes. And like maybe real is we do go, well, we base stuff off of what we thought about teams. And then that automatically either upgrades or downgrades teams as opposed to just what we actually see. Because like we thought a team was supposed to be the absolute nutlow gutter trash. And then if they're not, then all of a sudden we try to like find these rainbows and unicorns about them or whatever. And then it's the same deal with like these teams that we thought were going to be awesome. And then they're not necessarily awesome. Like let's just take the Eagles, for example, this year. Like we thought they were going to be awesome. They're stumbling a little bit right now. And it's like everything we want to talk about is like how horrible the Eagles are. Like there's no redeeming quality about the team. It's just interesting how we do that, because when we have teams at the polar ends and then they don't live up to where we have them at the polar ends, we either get a much more rosy outlook of them or a much more gloomy outlook of those teams. And it's like, I think we got to pump the brakes and find ourselves somewhere in the middle of that. Just an observation in general.
And I think that Eagles-Vikings game is a great example of that this week, to maybe see which team is going to show their true self, right? Yeah. It's not necessarily a conclusion for the rest of the season, but those are two teams that I think most people would say are above average, but have disappointed a little bit, playing a team that at least the market thinks is kind of similar rating. You know, there's some home field advantage for the Vikings, obviously, but it's less than a field goal game. So let's see who shows up. Let's see if the Eagles are who they were, a disaster against the Giants, if they were smoke and mirrors before that, or if they're going to start getting back to the priors we had of them coming into the season as a Super Bowl champ. So I agree with you. This might take time for some teams, and changes in coaching staffs might hurt other teams more than others as well.
Checking in real quick on Thursday Night Football, Stephen, concerted effort to back the Bengals coming in right now. The screen flashes across the board here for me, and the 5.5s have turned into 5s. The 5s have turned into 4.5s. And so we have some Cincinnati money coming in here as we are about 45 minutes to kick off.
Yeah, I'm right here at Circa Sportsbook Kentucky, and I'm looking at a 4.5 and a total 45. So, I mean, it makes a little sense, right? I mean, that 4.5 to 5.5 is kind of a dead number range. So it would take more to go to 6 than it would for it to come down from 5.5 to 4.5. So makes sense to me a little bit. We're kind of in that dead range. It's not a huge significant move. It doesn't signal to me to go run and bet the Bengals now to tail this.
Just interesting that that they're getting the money.
For sure. Agreed. Yeah. Agree with that for sure. It
is more interesting. They're getting the money. Giants are on the road at Denver. This is a full touchdown in favor of Denver at home. 40.5 to 41 is our total here in this one. The one thing that we thought was going to be true heading into the season has played out, which we thought this Denver defense was going to be hell on wheels, and it has been so far. It is an awesome, awesome defense, which has kept them in games that maybe they shouldn't have been in. We are getting the Giants come on the road after what I could only say, Stephen, or some at least pretty interesting Jackson Dart starts. I mean, considering you're down Malik Neighbors, you were down Slayton last week as well. So you're number one. Let me look at by the way, Wan'Dale Robinson is like your number one, and you're actually making things work and all of that. Like, you know, I think the Giants should be fairly excited about what they've seen so far from Jackson Dart, and not overreact to what might happen this week on the road against the best defense in the NFL, at elevation, all the different stuff like that. Like, don't lose your mind if Denver just, absolutely tromps them this week, because look, you're playing undermanned in every game that you line up because you don't have any of your dudes. And outside of Scattaboo, who, he can only run over so many people. Like, it is what it is. So again, this is my kind of like pump the brakes game of the week, where it's like, hey, look, Giants fans, if you lose by 12 here, or if you lose whatever, 13, you lose by 15. I mean, like, it's not the end of the world. I mean, it's Denver's defense is as legit as we thought.
I'm going to take the other side of this argument, man, because I'm not sure Bo Nix, from what we've seen, should be laying 7 against pretty much anybody. Like, and if it is, then that's not a bet I want. That's for damn sure. He was hideous in that London game, and now I have concerns again with Bo Nix. If we just look at the last 3 weeks since Jackson Dart took over as the starter, Jackson Dart, quarterbacks minimum 50 plays this year. That's 34 now so far this year. I've had at least 50 plays. Jackson Dart is 24th in EPA plus CPOE composite, and Bo Nix is lower. No, he's a little higher. He's at 17th. So the success rate is where I get concerned, though, because that measures down-to-down efficiency. Are you consistently getting the yardage required to keep the chains moving and put together a drive? And Jackson Dart is at 52% in his 3 starts, and Bo Nix is at 46.9%, and that would rank bottom half of the league, so 23rd out of 34 quarterbacks. Jackson Dart, 15th over the last 3 weeks. But the other trickle-down effect here is, and we see this sometimes when a team gets a quarterback change and the rest of the team rallies around him and they start raising their level of play as well a little bit, it's the Giants' defense. Since Jackson Dart took over a starter, they are 8th in EPA per play, and success rate, they're pretty solid as well, top half of the league. The specific number is 11th over the last 3 weeks. So it's a tough matchup for them in the trenches for sure. Like that pass rush we love about the Giants, you're playing the best offensive line in the league. And then on the other side in the trenches, the Giants offensive line is going against the best defensive line in the league. So this is advantage Broncos in the trenches, but I still bet Giants +7 because I don't think Bo Nix can consistently move the ball down the field. And what really stood out to me in that Jets game was the play calling in the second half, which seemed like Sean Payton was doing everything he could to get that clock to 0 and just get the hell out of there with a win, because there was zero confidence in Bo Nix with the play calling he was trotting out there. In one series to start the second half, it was run, run, pass. The next series was pass, run, run. Like all those 3 and outs were 2 runs and a pass. So I don't think that Bo Nix is good enough to cover big spreads unless they get some turnover variance. And I don't think Sean Payton is going to put him in a lot of aggressive play calling here to help facilitate that either.
Yeah, I know the total is very low. If I was going to play this game at all, I would still be leaning towards an under. I mean, if we look here over, again, this Denver defense. So like, if you look at like 3 and out rate forced over the last 4 games, it's nearly 50% from this Broncos defense. I mean, like they are making teams just like absolutely have to grind it out every single time. Like you can't even get a first down half the drives against this team, right? I mean, like they're 3 and out and you over and over and over and over and over again. And so like, that's the only thing that has me at least a little bit concerned, because again, this will be a completely different handicap for me. If Neighbors was out there and Slayton was healthy and all of that, like, dude, yeah, this is Giants like all day long, right? I'm just curious as to against this D, where does the constant offense come from? And so like, this could be like the stupidest cover ever where it's 14-3. You know what I'm saying? Like the game's like 14-3 or something, or the game's like 17-6 or some kind of stupid something like that. Where Bo Nix didn't really do anything, but it's like, it didn't matter. You know, that's kind of the only thing that scares me. Like, I mean, Surtain, he's probably not even going to shadow anyone. I mean, like, is he really going to shadow freaking Wan'Dale Robinson? I mean, like, he's probably not even, like, it's going to be the first game all year where he's just like, all right, I'll just play aside. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. That's the only thing that has me hesitant about pulling the trigger on the 7 with the Giants.
The last thing I kind of liked was Giants off extra rest, Broncos coming back from international trip. Like, does that mean anything to you? Like, we always talk about going international. Do you feel like there's any type of travel downgrade, even if it's minor, on the first game back from international?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Here's the deal. I look at it like this. These teams have the option to have their bye after the international games if they want to do it. They run more analytics and more sims and have smarter people in their front offices than me and you and everyone else. And if they're choosing not to do it, then they have figured out somewhere along the way that it's not that big of a difference is my personal take on this. Because if you have the option and you're passing on it, that means you have done the research and you have figured out that it is not in your best interest to do it.
Still like the extra rest for the Giants then at the very least.
No, sure. But you get what I'm saying though. It's like,
I agree.
Yeah. It's like they're pretty smart. These organizations are pretty smart. They have a lot of money and
they hire a lot of people.
Yeah. They got a lot of resources to put behind this stuff. The Colts are on the road at the Chargers. They're entering this game as 1.5 to 2 point dogs to the Chargers. 48.5 is our total here in this one. Here is like the square dog play of the week, and I don't even care. Dude, this offensive line for the Chargers is all kinds of messed up. Quentin Johnston is going to be hobbling around out there, and I'm telling you, I just don't know. I don't know what it's going to take for people to believe, I guess, in this Colt. Maybe this win will be when people finally buy in and believe in this Colts team. Steven, that chart that I was telling you about that goes in and smushes all the information together and tells you like the best quarterbacks that are out there in the NFL right now. Daniel Jones is 7th in the NFL in this chart. I mean, it's like, again, ahead of Goff and Allen and Herbert and ahead of Mahomes, ahead of, Jaden Daniels, like all of these dudes that he's ahead of. If you go in and you take a look at like how efficient this Colts team is from under center. I mean, like they're not doing what all the other teams are doing. Even like everyone lines up in shotgun or pistol every single play. Like they're under center a third of the time and like dominating when they're under center. I mean, it's just, I love what Steichen has done with Daniel Jones. I love what Daniel Jones has done with the game plan that they have given him. The Tyler Warren draft pick has paid dividends already. The dude is an absolute baller. And that's opened up stuff for Jonathan Taylor again and reminded us why he was one of the best runners in the league as soon as a couple of years ago. So prove me wrong, Colts. Tell me that you're not good, but I'm gonna back them here in a game where home field advantage means absolutely nothing to me. I imagine these Indianapolis fans circled this game as soon as the schedule came out. I bet it's 40% Colts fans in that friggin' stadium.
I worked for the Colts for 2 years, and Chuck Pagano even told me under the table, he was like, we have a terrible home field advantage. So we'll see how many Colts fans travel to LA, but it happens with a lot of fan bases. I will give you that. And regardless, it's not a great home field advantage. I don't have much else to add, man. I bet the Colts too. You said it perfectly. You were very eloquent with it. I'll just redouble down on what we talked about with offensive lines and how much of a hamper it is to offenses when you're missing a bunch of offensive linemen, which looks like it'll be the case again for the Chargers. The Chargers over the past 3 weeks, this offense is bottom 6 in the NFL in EPA and success rate. And on the defensive side of the ball, if the Colts do decide for whatever reason they want to hide Daniel Jones a little bit in this matchup and want to pound the rock with Jonathan Taylor, the Chargers defense is not inside the top 20 stopping the run by EPA and success rate. So I'm right there with you, man. I think this is Pryor's people back in the Chargers, and I think they're not putting enough emphasis on what this team looks like with a bad offensive line. So well said by you.
Yeah, Justin Herbert is having to leave the pocket, due to pressure at an extremely high rate, and like that's not good, right? I mean, it's like he's having to get out of there, not because of design plays, but because the pressure is getting in there and getting to him. And like, these are things that are super big red flags. And then, if you're down a receiver too, and all of that, I think that it's a pretty ungood situation. Let's talk about this Green Bay Packers team that is, boy, I expected more coming out of a bye last week. That's for sure. So here they are on the road at Arizona. You can find 6.5. It has moved to 7 at DraftKings. 44.5 to 45.5 is our total. Steven, were you Were you as kind of like head scratchy as I was with Green Bay last week? I mean, you come out of a bye, you got all this talent, you got whatever, and then you get kind of like what can be described as best as kind of like a meh performance.
Completely agree. I mean, I bet the Packers on the look ahead for this game before that game was played, just based on the assumption that this is one of, if not the best teams in the NFL, one of the best rosters. They've had the bye to kind of, iron some things out. They're going to come out high flying, great defensive performance against a bad offensive line. And, they were one series away from giving the ball back to Cincinnati, with a chance to take the lead in the second half. So I don't quite know what to think. I think this is just the state we're in with the top tier teams, maybe less so with the Chiefs at this point, but the other top tier teams, there's something significant that you could point out that could be an Achilles heel for them any given week. So, and the other thing too is now that we have, I told you I bet them on the look ahead. I have the 5.5 in pocket on the Packers, which is good CLV at this point. Looks like we may hit 7 with Jacoby Brissett, likely the starter again this week. I might just come back and bet the other side here with Jacoby Brissett. I don't know if I'm putting too much into one game. I'll give FTN some credit for these stats, but the Cardinals had more completions of 20 yards or more down the field in one game last week than they did with all the games Kyler started this year combined. They were not afraid whatsoever to push the ball down the field with Jacoby Brissett, and they were successful doing it. So Colts got away with one last week in some ways. So I was impressed with that. And if Brissett's going to start again, I'll go back to my priors on Arizona. I like the defense. I think the offensive line protects well. Weapons are good enough. I think it's a pretty well-rounded roster that just was underperforming and not closing out games very strongly in fourth quarter. So they're at home and getting 7. I might come in the other side here and maybe try and push one side and cash the other, or worst case, it just cancels out if it doesn't fall inside the 5.5 and 7.
Yeah. One of the notes I forgot to say about that Colts and Chargers game is if you haven't seen the uniforms that the Chargers are going to be wearing, that might push you to the Colts as well.
Oh man, bad.
I mean, they are, I mean, dude, the Charger power uniforms, whoever approved these things, like, come on, man. Like what was going on there with that? So just, again, go look them up, and it really might force you to a bet. I mean,
Andy Molitor on the Deep Dive podcast, which is also here on the 4for4 Live YouTube channel, called them the Savannah Bananas, which I thought was great.
Oh, the thread, for when they debuted the uniform, whatever, there was, they had photoshopped him in with the Savannah Bananas. They had like the yellow Teletubby. They had like the yellow Power Ranger. They had like, I mean, all the different stuff. I mean, like they had like his head on a can of Sunny D. Like, I mean, all kinds of everything. Just, I don't know if you want to back a team that's wearing those uniforms. That's all I'm saying. I mean, it doesn't seem like something I'm trying to do around here.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, so let's get to the Washington Commanders and the Dallas Cowboys. This is 1.5 to 2.5 out there in favor of the Commanders on the road at Dallas. 54.5 to 55 is our total. Yes, they have a huge total in this one because Dallas can score at will, and they let everyone else score at will as well. CeeDee Lamb is back to practice. Looks like we're going to get a full complement of weapons there for Dak Prescott, who, by the way, has been absolutely balling out in that little metric that I was telling you about earlier. Dak Prescott, the number 2 quarterback in the NFL so far in this season. Steven, this Cowboys offense can cook. It's just the defense.
I was curious this week, and I went back as far as Ben Baldwin's running backs don't matter database goes, which is 2016. And I wanted to know if any defense was worse than the Dallas Cowboys this year by EPA. And there was only one, and it was the COVID year, which was wonky for a number of reasons. Only the Lions in the 2020 COVID year had a worse defense so far than this Dallas Cowboys defense. So what do we do with that on a week-to-week basis? I'm not sure, because clearly the total has adjusted to this. We have a 55 now. But at the same time, McLaurin and Debo, both DMPs today on Thursday. That's not a great sign. If they're both not going to play, is it enough for Dallas and Dak, who is having, if they had more wins, he would be top 3 in the MVP race right now with the stats he's putting up. So I don't really know what to do with this, to be honest with you, because when I did my rankings this week, it tells me I should bet Washington. Because I still have Dallas down in the 20s, and I still have Washington in the top 12. Now, if McLaurin and Debo don't play, I don't know. So I'm kind of confounded by this game. I don't really know what to do with it. I just know that the Cowboys have the best and the worst unit in this game, and that's a lot of weeks. So you tell me where you've landed with this, because I don't know.
I have landed on, if those guys don't play, or even if one of those guys doesn't play, despite the defense that you get with Dallas, that 55 is just too high. It's basically what I've decided. So if Washington doesn't have full firepower, I'm probably going to play the under. Is going to be,
27 is a push, which is crazy.
Yeah. Like 55 points is just a lot of points in an NFL game. And if you don't have your full complement of weapons, I'm very apt to play against you. So that's kind of where I'm landing right now. But
can I give you another scenario and see what you like better? Let's assume McLaurin and Debo get ruled out and under money comes in.
Mm-hmm.
And this, I don't know how much it can move. Like, say we get to 53.
Yeah.
You want to come back and bet the over at that point at a better number? I don't know.
I don't know. I think at that point I might, if I'm interested in over, then I'm basically just betting on Dallas to like score a bunch of points. And so I'd probably just bet a Dallas team total.
That's my next question. If we think Dallas's defense is too bad to try and handicap whether they can win a game every week, and we're most confident in the Cowboys offense being fantastic and CeeDee Lamb's coming back and they're dogs in this game, over 27, over 27 and a half.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably, that would be the look if this total, started falling for me and I didn't get to it in time. It would probably just be to play the Dallas side of it, because the only reason I'm playing the under is because I don't believe in the Washington side. It's not because I don't believe in the Dallas side,
Yeah, too much uncertainty on the Washington side. They've looked clunky, add a couple injuries to their number 2 receivers. A lot of unknowns there to bet into that. I agree with full confidence in the Cowboys offense basically any given week at this point.
Oh, yeah. I mean, for sure. And the only other thing that I'm kind of interested in is, and this is more of for us to watch maybe for next week, is, so now that Miles Sanders is out for the season, does Jaden Blue finally start getting some carries for Dallas? And if so, with how good this offense is and how much they're moving, will the books be at least a week behind in like adjusting his numbers and all the things like that? Because, it's kind of like we just said. I mean, like Javonte Williams is fine. I mean, he's not your 3-down workhorse every down back. I mean, that's just not how they were utilizing him. And that's why Miles Sanders was getting what he was getting in this offense. And so I'm going to monitor how they use Blue. And if that's the case, maybe next week when we're having this talk that, he's undervalued in the prop market.
I have one more long shot question for you.
Shoot it.
It's a bit off the radar. You and I both agree that Cowboys aren't going to win enough games for Dak to win MVP.
Yeah.
He's also among the favorites for comeback player of the year, which I don't think in a vacuum disqualifies him from winning offensive player of the year. If we get a situation where none of the running backs or wide receivers have like eye-popping numbers, like if there's no running back that has 1,600 yards and 15 touchdowns, or there's no wide receiver that has the same numbers, is there a chance where Dak can win offensive player of the year with 5,000 yards and 40 touchdowns?
Does a world exist?
1.
Yes. Is it likely? No. And like you already laid out one of the reasons why, because they're already going to give him one of these awards and they're not going to give him 2. And it's just like, they're not going to do it. Secondly, you would have to have JSN get hurt, because JSN is on pace for like 4,000 fucking yards this year. I mean,
and we talked about that a couple weeks ago. I got that in pocket. So that I agree with you on that for sure.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's just like, it would be, yeah, it's just insanity. I mean, like JSN would have to get hurt. So you're basically betting on JSN getting hurt.
So at 150 to 1, though, you're not even a sprinkle.
No, and the reason being, so they're going to give him comeback player, and I really believe they're not going to give him 2 awards. Like, I just like,
That's fair.
Like, they're just not going to give him 2 awards, and so it's still human beings voting on it, right? So therein lies the problem.
Yeah, and we agree that Christian McCaffrey is very fragile to survive to the end for comeback player of the year as well. So makes sense.
All right. So we roll along here, and we are going to Atlanta and San Francisco. This is currently 1.5 to 2.5. Only 2.5 out there. So we'll call it 1.5, 2 in favor of San Francisco at home. 46.5 to 47 is our total. Steven, Brock Purdy back practicing. So maybe we get him back. We're definitely going to be getting back George Kittle this week, it seems like. Ayuk, though, bad news there. Still weeks away, they are saying, from Ayuk being back for them. But, getting Purdy back under center, getting Kittle back out there, and they've figured out ways to get this to work. Christian McCaffrey has played like every single snap, like this entire season. It's unbelievable.
Remember when you asked me a couple weeks ago, like, they can't just feed him 40 times in a game, can they? Like,
and it's like they don't care. Yeah, it's just like, yes, we can. We don't care. Atlanta, impressive last week for sure. Find themselves as 2-point dogs on the road. What say you?
I don't know, man. Like, what version? This is the team where each week we do this show on Thursdays. I don't know who the hell is playing for the 49ers on Sunday. Like, you gave some good cases and some updates on the injury report here with maybe Brock Purdy comes back this week. He was still limited, though. So until I see a full participation on the injury report, I don't think he's going to play. Mac Jones got a full participation in, which is funny considering there's no way his knee is healthy yet. George Kittle was still a limited practice on Thursday as well. So while he is practicing and eligible to come off, I'm still not convinced he's back until I see a full participation. They lose Fred Warner, who is one of the best defensive players in the league. They already lost Nick Bosa. So now I think when the offense is fully healthy for the 49ers, this is a dead over team most weeks with how can you name the 2 quarterbacks in the NFL this year who lead in passing yards per game? If you had to guess.
It's going to be Sam Darnold and Mac Jones.
Good guesses. Mac Jones is one of them. Brock Purdy's the other. So on a per game basis, the Niners offense can pass the ball at a high efficiency, even with low attempts. So once they're fully assembled again, with all the defensive injuries they've had, like this is an over team every week. They're going to be efficient. They're going to move the ball. The schedule is manageable. I don't know what they're trotting out there on offense this week. And what I do know for sure is that this defense is likely bad at this point. They don't have the dudes anymore on this defense. So Falcons impressed me last week. I got to see about their tackle. I think Jake Matthews got banged up last game. It looks like he's going to play. Teaser on the Falcons is probably what I'd be most comfortable with. Maybe a teaser on the Falcons with the Colts. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess at some point too, we're going to have to just believe that this Falcons defense is good.
Yeah, I mean, they've invested a ton of draft capital, day 1 and day 2 picks into this defense. So it is entirely believable that they are leveling up before our very eyes. It makes sense with all the investment they put into it. So I don't know. If Purdy's playing, if Kittle's playing, I'd be interested in an over in this game. If they're not playing, it's probably just tease the Falcons if they're still going to be a dog.
Yeah, it is just super, super interesting to me that this Falcon, I mean, we were just dogging so bad on this Falcons defense. And then they go in, like you said, just spend a bunch of spent a bunch of money and capital and decided we're not going to have a trash defense. And so far, I mean, we're still in, fairly infancy of this season, but so far so good for what their returns on their investment is good.
Yeah, 100% agree. I have them as a top half team. They're basically right next to the 49ers at this point with the 49ers injuries. So tough place to play in San Francisco, tough road trip for anybody to go in there. But I have a hard time seeing the 49ers with the state of their defense and the injuries on offense. Also, we should mention Jawan Jennings is playing in these games, but he said in a post-game interview, he's playing with 5 broken ribs. So like he's nowhere near what we saw with some of the breakout games he had last year. He's just not physically able to do that. That's why Kendrick Bourne has become the number 1 wide receiver until further notice when these other guys come back. That's how injured they are.
Which, by the way,
he looks good, right?
He looks good. No, it's that's not the worst thing. It seems like, it's just, it's crazy. Like he looks
Shanahan, man. Shanahan.
Yeah. Detroit and Tampa Bay. And this is such a bummer because if these two teams were healthy, this would be the game of the season. Like this would be must watch television. Instead we're sitting 5.5. It's 52.5, but let's just go in with Terry Arnold didn't practice today for the Lions. Neither did Kirby Joseph. Neither did Avonte Maddox. Neither did DJ Reader. Taylor Decker was limited. Over on the Buck side of things, Levante David, Emeka Egbuka, Chris Godwin, Bucky Irving, all of them DNPs and whatever. It's just like so many important pieces of these teams are DNPing right now. And so, I don't know, this could all change. It is, it is, they do get an extra day, Steven. So, maybe, by the way, two Monday night games again, just for everybody out there. Mm-hmm. So they do get an extra day to get back. Maybe a little too early for us to make a call here on this one, considering how many key and vital pieces are out for both of these teams.
Yeah, to steal a phrase from JJ Zacharyson, by the way, these late night Monday night football games, the back end of a doubleheader, are not East Coast dad approved. Okay, this is way too late at night for me to be watching football games when my 2 and 4-year-old wake up at 7 a.m.
West Coast, best coast, baby. That's why I always say West Coast, best coast for sports. Always West Coast, best coast for sports.
All right. So what matters more, cluster injuries at wide receiver or cluster injuries at cornerback? Because we're going to find out this week.
This is like the battle of what matters more. I don't know. Look, it's the obvious thing here is like Tez Johnson props, essentially. It's like that's the obvious play. It's Tez Johnson, whenever Egbuka went out, ran a route on 89% of snaps after that. So it's like it seems like he's going to be the dude that steps in and is the de facto number 1 for Baker Mayfield this week. Like Tez Johnson and Kate Otten is basically going to be like what we're going to be saying over and over again. And then, I don't know, man. It's just, like I said, I'm bummed because this game has everybody healthy. This game could be like the game of the year, but
yeah,
it's probably going to be, we're probably going to be talking about how sloppy it is more than anything else.
Minus 1,000. You're the first person in the history of betting to utter that sentence. Tez Johnson props, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you. I don't know what to do with this game. There's been a lot of respected plays on the Lions this week. I still love Baker. I think he can cook against a bad secondary here. It's more of just a wait and see, and really whatever happens in this game, don't put too much into it because this is not the two teams we hopefully will see in January. So another chance for Baker to really impress, though. That's for sure for the MVP case. If he can keep doing this without his receivers.
Honestly, it could be a good buy spot on whichever team loses this game. If odds get better, because again, this is not the version of these teams that you're really buying in on. You're buying in on a much better version of these teams down the line.
It might be a live bet for me on the under. If we come out and the Bucs scored 30 points last week, but they were very run heavy. Baker was efficient on low pass attempts. They had a lot more runs than they did passing, which to me signals that was a concerted effort with down so many wide receivers. So if that's going to be the case again, we already know the Lions like to run the ball, and the Bucs have an elite run stopping unit. If I see that same commitment to the run with the Bucs offense, given they're down the wide receivers, it might be a live underplay for me in this one.
Our final game is the late. Yes, that is going to be 10 Eastern for you people out there. Houston on the road at Seattle. Seattle is a field goal fair. Oh, this is actually split out there in the mark. 3.5. There are 3.5s available all over the place. So if you like Houston, you can get a hook. If you like Seattle, you can find a 3. It is 41, the prevailing total out there in this one, Stephen. Houston coming off of a bye, so there is at least that working in their favor. You get what looks to be Christian Kirk back in this offense, so maybe that helps out getting Nico Collins freed up a little bit more and getting him more involved in this offense. Another week to maybe work out Woody Marks as your running back 1, because Nick Chubb was just dust out there like running and whatever. I don't have to tell you how good the Seahawks offense has been. It has been unbelievably awesome. Sam Darnold is the number 1 quarterback in the NFL by almost all of the metrics out there. JSN, the number 1 receiver by almost all the metrics out there. But they have problems in the secondary as well when it comes to injuries. What say you here, Houston and Seattle?
Massive trenches advantage for the Seattle defense against this Houston offensive line. I'm going to stick with that. It's a priority for me in my handicapping. I hate that I missed the 2.5 very early in the week, but 3 still good for me here. I'm with you. I believe in the Seattle offense. I believe in this defense's ability to cause issues for CJ Stroud. If you can't block, you can't run an offense. So that's not something you fix in the bye week because you just don't have the bodies to upgrade your offensive line. So it's not just that I like Seattle in this game. I'm kind of looking at the landscape of this conference, Matt, and I think you could paint a path for Seattle making a deep run here. This is about the time last year where you and I were doing a show, and I said, I do think the Commanders can make a run here, and I bet some crazy long shot Chiefs versus Commanders in the Super Bowl. We almost got there. They got to the NFC Championship game before they got their doors blown off. I think Seattle is a very well-rounded team. Do I think Sam Darnold's going to be this good for the rest of the season? No, I think there'll be some regression, but they're in the market to improve. They're potentially looking at some weapons on offense to get even better. We'll see if that happens or not, but their defense as well is going to be fully formed now this week to go along with this. The 3 main pieces that have been out for the last couple of weeks with Love and Manawari, I'm really bad at pronouncing his name, but they're getting their fully healthy defense back for this game as well, it looks like. So I'm leaning into Seattle for this game, and I've also bet a couple of bonus bets on them to be the Super Bowl exacta with the Kansas City Chiefs at like 75, 80, 90 to 1, depending on where you shop.
Yeah, I mean, at least the early week injury report looks promising. So Reek Woolen is in the concussion protocol. He needs to clear, but he full practiced today, even though he's in the concussion protocol. So like he's very likely to get cleared. Devin Witherspoon limited after he was out last week. Julian Love limited today after he was out last week. You get Jaron Reed, who is full practiced today, so he didn't even need to do limited and all of that. So it does look like things are trending in the right direction for this Seahawks defense. Of course, they get the extra day, so we'll see what the practice report looks like tomorrow, but I would assume that you're getting Love and Witherspoon and Woolen back in this one, and that is just so incredibly massive for this defense. I mean, they were playing, you go back to that, the Bucs game. I mean, they were playing without their entire secondary. I mean, so it's just, and we're still in the game. It was a tipped ball interception by Sam Darnold at the end that ended up costing them the game. So I definitely am on the Seattle side here as well. If the injury report goes against us, whatever, maybe I'll buy off of it. But I'm.
And if you don't want to go as far as me with the Super Bowl exactas, that's fine. I totally understand that. But I think there's still value in the NFC West market as well, with the Niners still being at the top there and how injured their defense is. I don't think the Niners should be priced the way they are to win that division at this point with the bodies that they've lost. So whether you think it's the Rams or the Seahawks, I think there's value in either of those prices. I went with Seahawks around plus 360.
10 minutes to kick. And Steven, guess what? Somebody out there, some powerful group, some syndicate or whatever said, oh, no. We're not backing the Bengals. This thing's back out to 5.5 at every one of the books across the country.
All right.
So no more 4.5s, no more 5s. It's 5.5 again at every single book across the country. 44.5 to 45 is our total here in this one. So yeah, it was somebody came in and goes, who the hell is backing Joe Flacco and the Bengals in this thing? We're going to come back and play the other side. So here we go. 5.5 Pittsburgh, 44.5 to 45 is the total. Like I said, I am on Aaron Rodgers passing yards. I think that tight end plays are interesting as well here for Pittsburgh with them being down Calvin Austin. I think they turned to tight ends as kind of the secondary deal here with all of that. I do think too, if you are of the mindset that the Steelers roll here, I would be looking at some Chase Brown unders and stuff. Like Cincinnati is really quick to get away from the run game when they get in a negative game script, and because they just don't have the offensive line to get any sort of positive anything going. So that's how I'm looking to play this. Steven, what are the best in your account, buddy?
I have Steelers first quarter spread minus half of a point on the angle that Art Smith is second in the league in EPA on scripted plays, and the Bengals are 31st. They were still bottom of the league in the first quarter last week with Joe Flacco. And then the prop market, I'm looking at Darnell Washington, the Pittsburgh Steelers, massive tight end at 6'7", allegedly 267 pounds, to score a touchdown in this game. Even like some of the ancillary stuff, like first touchdown, maybe 2 touchdowns, he quietly has usurped both Jonnu Smith and Pat Freiermuth as the number 1 tight end, both in snaps and targets over the past 2 games. Darnell Washington, 90% of snaps last week against Cleveland for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I like that angle. And I just want to make sure, Matt, that you've taken into account for your handicap. I just looked over my shoulder here at the beautiful Circa Sportsbook Kentucky, and the Bengals are wearing their white tiger uniform. So I just want to make sure that you've included that factor in your handicapping.
Hey, listen, when there's no Jesus H. Burrow on the field, there's nothing, the loyalty, any sort of draw that I may have to the team is gone.
They can wear white, but there's nothing pure about it without Jesus H. Burrow.
When Burrow's not out there, it's just not the same for me at all. Guys, absolute blast to get to do this each and every week. Again, TNF Live is the code for SharpStack. If you have not tried it out already, use that code. You're going to get 7 free days with that. And then trust me, at the end, you'll take advantage of the 25% off, but you also get 25% off with that code as well. If you haven't already liked this page, subscribe to this page, go in and do the comments and all the things like that, be sure and do that as well. I'll be making my way over and doing a live show with Steven there in Kentucky as well. So we'll let you know when that is. Y'all come in and sit down and have a cocktail with us afterwards and all of that. So it'll be some fun times. But Pittsburgh could take dare I say, a stranglehold of the division with a win here tonight with what's going on with the Baltimore Ravens. For Steven Anderson, I am Matt Brown. Good luck on all your Week 7 bets.
No cocktails, bourbon only in this state, buddy. Good night.